Commander Zrel of the Galactic Confederation stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel Harmonious Integration, watching with practiced indifference as the human representatives boarded. The ship, a marvel of Confederation engineering, served as neutral ground for the upcoming negotiations. Humans, always so eager to join galactic politics, despite being barely a century into faster-than-light travel. "Another waste of our resources," muttered Sub-Commander Plex beside him, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "These humans will contribute nothing of value to the Confederation." Zrel flicked his sensory appendages in agreement. "Protocol demands we entertain their petition." Again, he adjusted his ceremonial collar, the 6 platinum rings signifying his rank catching the light. "The Admiral arrives tomorrow. She will dismiss their application, as always, and we can return to actual work." The humans, 5 diplomats in formal attire and 1 maintenance worker in plain gray coveralls, were being scanned at the security checkpoint. Zrel barely spared them a glance. Their kind had applied for Confederation membership 6 times in the past 20 years. 6 rejections. "They brought a janitor?" Plex snorted, her gill slits flaring with amusement. "Humans insist on cleaning things manually." "Some cultural quirk," Zrel replied, turning away. "Station their diplomats in the East Wing. Put the maintenance human wherever maintenance humans go." "Yes, Commander." The Harmonious Integration would be their home for the next 3 days. Just long enough for Admiral Krixat to arrive, review their petition, find it lacking, and send them back to their isolated corner of the Orion Arm. Janitor Tom Parker whistled as he pushed his cleaning cart down the gleaming corridor of the alien vessel. Not that anyone called him Janitor Parker. They didn't call him anything at all. The diplomatic team, all sharp suits and sharper ambitions, had practically forgotten his existence the moment they boarded, which was exactly as planned. "Excuse me, human maintenance worker," came a voice from behind. Tom turned to see one of the Confederation aliens, Arcturian, by the look of those distinctive tentacle whiskers, approaching with a datapad. This one wore the uniform of ship security. "Your assigned quarters are in Section D, Level 7, the Arcturian said, not making eye contact. "Your access is restricted to common areas and diplomatic quarters for cleaning purposes only. The engine room, command deck, and communications hub are strictly off-limits." "Got it. Section D, Level 7. Cleaning only. No wandering." Tom smiled pleasantly. The Arcturian seemed surprised by his cheerful response. Most species found humans unpredictable, which made them nervous. "You will report any malfunctions to Maintenance Chief Gorks, not attempt repairs yourself." "Wouldn't dream of it," Tom said, patting his simple tool belt. "Just a mop and some cleaning solution, see? No fancy repair tools." The security officer gave a curt nod and walked away without another word. Tom returned to pushing his cart, whistling again, this time a little louder. He passed several Confederation officers in the hallway. None acknowledged him. The Confederation had a rigid hierarchical society. Why would they notice a mere human janitor? The arrogance was almost amusing. Almost. Tom reached the diplomat's quarters and began his routine. Ambassador Reyes was delivering her usual speech to her team. "This time will be different. We have addressed every concern from previous petitions." Tom had heard it 5 times before. This would be the 6th rejection, but that wasn't why they were here. Not really. As he dusted the ornate shelving unit in the corner of the room, he listened to the diplomats discuss strategy. They were good people, dedicated, earnest, and completely in the dark about his actual role. "Parker," Ambassador Reyes called, finally noticing him. "Our meeting starts in an hour. Make sure the room is spotless, will you?" "Yes, ma'am," Tom replied with a small bow. "You won't even know I was here." She'd already turned back to her team, his response barely registering. "Perfect." Later that evening, as most of the ships settled into their night cycle, Tom left his cramped quarters in Section D. The corridors were dimly lit, with only occasional security patrols to avoid. He knew their patterns by now. 6 previous missions, 6 previous rejections had their advantages. "Hey, Vix," he sub-vocalized, activating the nearly microscopic communicator embedded behind his ear. "I'm heading to Junction 47B. What's your status?" In position at the secondary data node came the reply, audible only to him. "You have got 20 minutes before the security sweep reaches your sector. More than enough time." Tom moved confidently but unhurriedly, just a janitor doing a late-night cleaning round. In his hand, he carried a standard-issue spray bottle filled with a solution that was definitely not for cleaning. At Junction 47B, he sprayed a fine mist onto an access panel. The specialized compound revealed hundreds of fingerprints and touch patterns. Tom studied them carefully, noting which sections of the panel were most frequently touched. Then he sprayed again, this time with a cleaner that eliminated all traces. "Access patterns recorded," he murmured. "Moving to the next junction. Copy that." Admiral Krexat's ship just announced they will be arriving 6 hours ahead of schedule. Tom frowned. "That complicates things." "You are not worried, are you, Parker?" Vix teased in his ear. "About the illustrious Admiral who's rejected humanity 6 times? Not particularly. Just stick to the plan. We need those access codes." For the next 3 hours, Tom methodically worked his way through the ship, cleaning here, observing there. To any security cameras, he was just being thorough, perhaps even obsessive. Typical human behavior. Nothing suspicious about a janitor who took pride in his work. When he finally returned to his quarters, he had mapped 16 critical junctions and recorded access patterns for 11 different security protocols. It's not bad for a night's work. The next morning, Tom was polishing the conference room table when Commander Zrel entered with his entourage. "The human diplomats are scheduled to arrive in 10 minutes, one of the aides was saying. "The Admiral's shuttle has just docked." Zrel made a dismissive gesture. "Another formality. The Admiral has reviewed their petition during transit. Her decision is already made." Tom kept his head down, moving his cloth in smooth, circular motions across the table's surface. Zrel suddenly noticed him. "Why is this human still here?" "The room should be prepared and empty before our arrival." "My apologies, Commander," Tom said, straightening. "Ambassador Reyes requested an extra polish for the table." "I'm just finishing up." Zrel's upper lip curled slightly. "Be quick about it." As Tom gathered his supplies, the doors slid open again. The human diplomatic team entered, followed by a tall, imposing figure that could only be Admiral Krexat. Tom had seen images of the Admiral before, but they didn't capture her presence. Standing over 7 feet tall, with iridescent scales that shifted color with her mood, and 6 arms that ended in delicate, clawed hands, she dominated the room instantly. Her uniform bore countless medals and insignia that Tom couldn't begin to interpret, but their meaning was clear: power. "Ambassador Reyes," the Admiral said, her translator rendering her complex speech patterns into smooth English. "We meet again, Admiral Krexat," Reyes replied with a respectful nod. "Thank you for considering our petition." Tom kept to the periphery of the room, slowly gathering his cleaning supplies, trying to appear invisible. It wasn't difficult. No one paid attention to the janitor. The meeting proceeded as expected. The human diplomats presented their case for Confederation membership. The Admiral listened with practiced patience. Commander Zrel and his aides exchanged knowing glances. Everyone played their part in this diplomatic theater. "Your species has made remarkable progress," Admiral Krexat was saying, though her tone suggested the opposite. "However, the Confederation has standards that must be met. Your technology remains primitive by our measure. Your political systems are fragmented. Your military capabilities are—" She paused, searching for a diplomatic word. "Laughable?" suggested Commander Zrel, not bothering to hide his disdain. The Admiral shot him a warning glance before continuing. "Insufficient for the responsibilities of membership." Tom, still lingering near the door, watched the familiar dance unfold. The humans argued their case with passion. The Confederation representatives responded with condescension thinly veiled as concern. Same song, sixth verse. He was about to slip out unnoticed when Admiral Cricksat suddenly stopped mid-sentence. Her four main eyes narrowed, focusing on something across the room. "You," she said sharply. "Human maintenance worker." The room fell silent. Every head turned toward Tom, who froze with his hand on the cleaning cart. "Yes, Admiral," he replied, trying to sound appropriately deferential. Reproach. Tom hesitated, then moved forward, conscious of the confused looks from both the human diplomats and the Confederation officials. Admiral Cricksat's eyes hadn't left him. As he drew closer, he realized she wasn't looking at his face, but at his neck. "What is that?" she demanded, pointing with one clawed finger at the collar of his uniform. Tom's hand instinctively went to his throat. "Ma-am. Remove your hand. Show me your neck." The room had gone completely still. Ambassador Reyes looked bewildered. Commander Zrel appeared annoyed at the interruption. Slowly, Tom lowered his hand, exposing the thin silver chain barely visible at his collar. The Admiral's scales rippled, shifting from their formal blue-green to a deep, alarmed purple. "Everyone out," she ordered suddenly. "Except the janitor." "Admiral," Commander Zrel protested. "We haven't finished the petition review." Out. All six of her hands clenched into fists. Now. The room emptied in seconds, leaving Tom alone with one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. As the door slid shut, the Admiral's voice dropped to a whisper. "Show me what hangs on that chain, human." Tom hesitated only a moment before reaching into his collar and pulling out the pendant. It was a simple thing, really, a small metallic disc with strange, swirling patterns etched into its surface. The Admiral's breath caught. "Where did you get this?" "It was a gift," Tom replied carefully. "Ring from a friend." "What friend?" she demanded, her scales now pulsing between purple and a deep crimson. "Someone who thought humanity deserved better than 6 rejections." Admiral Cricksat stared at him, her 4 main eyes blinking rapidly, the 2 smaller eyes on her temples remaining fixed and alert. Then, to Tom's surprise, she laughed. Not the polite, diplomatic chuckle he'd heard during the meeting, but a full, throaty sound that seemed to bubble up from somewhere genuine. "So," she said when the laughter subsided, "it's finally happening. After all these centuries of waiting, it happens during my tenure." She leaned closer, her voice dropping even lower. "Does Commander Zrel know what you are?" Tom met her gaze steadily. "No one knows. Not even my own diplomatic team." "Good." The Admiral straightened to her full height. "Keep it that way. For now." She touched a communication device on her wrist. "Send everyone back in. We will continue the petition review." As the others filed back into the conference room, casting curious glances between Tom and the Admiral, Cricksat addressed Commander Zrel. "The human maintenance worker will remain for the duration of our discussions." "A janitor?" Zrel looked scandalized. "Admiral, with all due respect." "Is exactly what you owe me, Commander," she cut him off. "The janitor stays." Tom returned to his position by the wall, fighting to keep his expression neutral despite the racing of his heart. The pendant, now safely tucked back beneath his uniform, felt warm against his skin. The meeting resumed, but something had changed. Admiral Cricksat's tone was different, less dismissive, more engaged. She asked questions about Earth's cultural development, its artistic achievements, its philosophical evolution, areas that had never been discussed in previous petition reviews. Commander Zrel looked increasingly confused. Ambassador Reyes and her team, while doing their best to answer these unexpected queries, seemed equally baffled by the sudden change in direction. Only Tom understood what was happening. The game had changed. 6 rejections had been part of the plan all along, someone else's plan. And now, because Admiral Cricksat had noticed a simple janitor's necklace, humanity's true introduction to the galactic community was finally beginning. As the meeting continued, Tom caught the Admiral watching him from the corner of her eye. When their gazes met briefly, he could have sworn she winked if a being with 6 eyes could be said to wink. The diplomatic meeting concluded with an unprecedented announcement. Admiral Kriksat would personally tour Earth before making her final decision on humanity's petition. Commander Zrel looked like he might choke on his own tongue. "Admiral, this is highly irregular," he sputtered as the human diplomats filed out, trying to contain their excitement. "No Confederation official of your rank has ever visited a petitioning world." "Perhaps that's been our mistake," Kriksat replied, her scales now a contemplative teal. 6 rejections suggest our evaluation methods may be flawed." Zrel lowered his voice. "Is this about the janitor? What could you possibly have seen in that insignificant human?" The Admiral's secondary eyes fixed on Zrel while her primary set tracked Tom as he quietly gathered his cleaning supplies. "Commander, how long have you served under me?" 14 cycles, Admiral. "And in those 14 cycles, have I ever made a decision without purpose?" Zrel's posture stiffened. "No, Admiral." "Then trust that I have purpose now." She turned away, effectively dismissing him. "Prepare my shuttle. I leave for Earth in 6 hours. The human maintenance worker will accompany me." Tom, pretending to be absorbed in wiping down a perfectly clean table, suppressed a smile as Zrel stormed out, radiating indignation from every pore of his amphibian-like skin. Once alone, the Admiral approached Tom. "You play your role well, Janitor. Almost too well. I nearly missed you." Tom straightened, dropping the subservient posture. "That was the idea, Admiral. Though I admit I didn't expect the pendant to be recognized so quickly." "Who gave it to you?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "An Arcturian. Called himself Nix Valen." Kriksat inhaled sharply. "Valen is dead, has been for 2 centuries. Tom smiled. "That's what he told me you'd say." Ambassador Reyes cornered Tom in the shuttle bay as he prepared for departure to Earth with the Admiral. Her face was a storm of confusion and anger. "Parker, what the hell is going on? Why is Admiral Kriksat taking you to Earth? And why wasn't I informed?" Tom sighed. 6 missions maintaining his cover, only to blow it on the verge of success. "It's classified, Ambassador." "Classified? You are a janitor, for God's sake." "Actually," Tom said, lowering his voice, "I'm not." Reyes stared at him, realization dawning slowly. "You are? Intelligence? All this time? Not exactly. More like diplomatic insurance." He glanced over her shoulder at the approaching Admiral. "I promise you will get a full briefing when this is over. For now, trust that everything is proceeding better than we hoped." Before she could respond, Admiral Kriksat arrived with her personal guard, 4 hulking Draxians with skin like volcanic rock and eyes that glowed amber. "Ambassador Reyes," the Admiral greeted her. "Your diplomatic team will remain aboard the Harmonious Integration during my absence. Commander Zrel will see to their needs." "Of course, Admiral," Reyes replied, recovering her diplomatic poise despite her obvious confusion. "Earth looks forward to your visit." As Tom boarded the Admiral's personal shuttle, a sleek vessel that hummed with technology far beyond what humanity had achieved, he caught Reyes watching him with narrowed eyes. He'd have a lot of explaining to do when this was over. If it ended well. The shuttle departed without ceremony, leaving the Harmonious Integration behind. Tom found himself seated in a luxurious cabin across from Admiral Kriksat, who studied him with undisguised curiosity. "For 3,000 years," she said without preamble, "the Guardians have been a myth, a story to frighten ambitious young officers. Beware the shadows between stars, we tell them. The Guardians are watching." She leaned forward. "And now a human janitor wears their sigil around his neck." Tom touched the pendant beneath his shirt. "The Guardians aren't a myth, Admiral. We have been waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For the Confederation to become exactly what it was founded to prevent. A conquering empire masquerading as a diplomatic alliance." The Admiral's scales rippled, but she didn't deny it. The founders had idealistic notions about galactic harmony. Reality proved more complex. Reality always does, Tom agreed. But that doesn't mean the ideals were wrong. Cricksat sat back, her 6 hands resting on the arms of her chair. If you are truly connected to the Guardians, you know I could have you executed simply for possessing that pendant. The Confederation Council declared them terrorists millennia ago. You could try, Tom said mildly, but I don't think you will. Why not? Because you recognize the pendant. You know what it means. And you didn't alert Commander Zrel or your security team. Tom smiled. Which means you are sympathetic, curious, or both. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. Then, what is your real name? I assume Tom Parker is a cover. It's as real as any name. One of many I have used. Cricksat's brow ridges rose. How old are you, human? Tom's smile turned enigmatic. Old enough to remember when the Confederation stood for something worth believing in. Earth's orbital defense platforms tracked the Admiral's shuttle as it descended toward the North American landing zone. The planetary government had rolled out all ceremonial stops for this unprecedented visit, honor guards, diplomats, even a few carefully selected celebrities to showcase human culture. All were left waiting at the landing pad when the shuttle unexpectedly changed course. Where are we going? Tom asked as urban landscapes gave way to forests and mountains below. You tell me, Cricksat replied. If the Guardians have a presence on Earth, I want to see it. Not the show your government has prepared. Tom hesitated, then made a decision. Head for these coordinates. He transmitted the location to the shuttle's navigation system. 30 minutes later, they descended into a remote valley nestled deep in the Rocky Mountains. No buildings were visible, no signs of habitation, just pristine wilderness. There's nothing here, one of the Draxian guards growled, scanning the terrain with advanced sensors. Exactly, Tom said. Perfect place for something to hide. He led them from the shuttle to what appeared to be a solid rock face. The Admiral followed without hesitation, though her guards kept hands near their weapons. At the base of the cliff, Tom pressed his palm against a particular stone. Nothing happened. The lead Draxian snorted. Your hidden base needs maintenance, Janitor. It's not scanning my palm, Tom explained, unfazed. It's scanning the pendant. He pulled the chain from beneath his shirt, letting the disc rest against the stone. With a sound like sighing, a section of rock simply ceased to exist, revealing a corridor that stretched deep into the mountain. Lights activated sequentially along its length. Molecular phasing technology, Cricksat murmured, clearly impressed. The Confederation abandoned that research 5 centuries ago. Too unstable. We perfected it, Tom said simply, leading them inside. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that hummed with activity. Dozens of beings from various species worked at stations arranged in concentric circles around a central holographic display. Some wore the distinctive uniforms of Confederation military, others dressed in styles from worlds spread across the galaxy. None seemed surprised by the arrival of an admiral. A slender, silver-skinned woman approached, her eyes pure white without iris or pupil fixed on Tom. You are late, she said, her voice melodic. Had to make an impression, Tom replied with a grin. Admiral Cricksat, meet Director Lyra Voss. She runs this facility. And you are much more than a janitor, Cricksat observed. Tom bowed slightly. Thomas Parker, Guardian Operations, Infiltration Division. I have been monitoring Confederation expansion policies for the past 70 years. 70? The Admiral's scales flashed with disbelief. Humans don't live that long. I'm older than I look, Tom said, touching his pendant. Much older. Director Voss gestured toward the central hologram. Admiral, you are here because Tom believes you can be trusted. That's good enough for me. But time is short. The Sentinel project doesn't wait. The hologram shifted, displaying a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Thousands of points glowed across its spiral arms, some bright, others dimming, a few pulsing with urgent light. What am I seeing? Cricksat asked, approaching the display. Guardian outposts, Voss explained. We have been embedded in every major civilization for over 10,000 years, watching, waiting, intervening only when necessary. The Guardians were destroyed in the Purge Wars, Cricksat said, but with uncertainty in her voice. Every historical record confirms it. Tom laughed. History is written by the victors, Admiral. The Confederation didn't destroy us. We went underground. Literally, in this case. But why reveal yourselves now? Why to me? Director Voss touched the hologram, zooming in on a sector near the galactic core. Because of this. The image resolved to show a massive construction project, a ring-like structure being built around a dying star. The Dyson Collector, Cricksat whispered. The Council's Clean Energy Initiative. Is that what they are calling it? Tom's voice hardened. It's a weapon, Admiral. The most destructive device ever conceived. When completed, it will harness the power of an imploding star, enough energy to sterilize entire systems. Impossible, Cricksat shook her head. The Council would never approve such a thing. The full Council hasn't approved it, Voss said. Only the inner circle. 7 members operating without oversight. They call themselves the Directors of Necessary Action. Tom watched the Admiral's reaction carefully. Her scales shifted through multiple colors as she processed this information, finally settling on a deep, troubled bronze. Commander Julix, she said quietly. He's been pushing for expanded military authority for years, spoke of decisive solutions to border conflicts. She looked up sharply. You have proof? Tom nodded to Voss, who produced a data crystal. Everything is here. Construction plans, leading transcripts, deployment scenarios. Their first target is the Krell hegemony, but they won't stop there. Why tell me this? Why not take it to the full Council? Because the Guardians don't operate that way, Tom explained. We work through proxies, people with integrity, positioned where they can make a difference. He stepped closer. People like you, Admiral? Cricksat took the crystal, her expression unreadable. And if I choose to report your existence instead? The Confederation would mobilize immediately against this facility. They could try, Voss said with a serene smile. This facility exists in 17 different dimensional phases simultaneously. Your sensors detected only what we allowed them to see. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. Then, why the charade with Earth's petition? 6 rejections. What purpose did that serve? We needed to establish a pattern, Tom explained. Predictable rejection made your sudden interest in Earth seem genuine. No one will question your visit here. They will assume you are gathering final evidence to reject the petition once and for all. Instead, you want me to present this evidence to the Council, expose the inner circle's plot. Yes, it would mean civil war within the Confederation. Perhaps Tom acknowledged, or perhaps reform. Either is preferable to what the directors have planned. Cricksat tucked the crystal into a secure pocket of her uniform. And humanity's role in all this? Are they pawns in your game or genuine petitioners? Both, Tom admitted. Humanity isn't ready for Confederation membership, not yet. But they have potential worth protecting. The same could be said for many species the Confederation has subjugated, Cricksat observed. Exactly. Tom's eyes burned with intensity. The Confederation was founded on principles of mutual advancement, Admiral. Somewhere along the way, those principles were forgotten. We are offering you a chance to restore them. The Admiral looked around the chamber, taking in the diverse beings working in harmony. How many Guardian facilities like this exist? Enough, Voss said cryptically. And they are all staffed by immortals wearing pendants? There was skepticism in her voice. Tom smiled. The pendants aren't what make us immortal, Admiral. They are simply identification. What makes us different is much more fundamental. He held out his hand, palm up. A small flame appeared, hovering above his skin. Some would call it magic. We prefer applied quantum consciousness. Cricksat stared at the flame, then at Tom's face. Who are you people? Really? We are the ones who seeded this galaxy with life, Voss said quietly. And we have been guiding its evolution ever since. You are saying you are gods? Tom extinguished the flame with a casual gesture. No, just very, very old, and very tired of watching younger species repeat our mistakes. The Admiral's communicator chimed, breaking the moment. My absence will be noticed soon, she said, checking the device. I need to return. Of course, Tom agreed. You have much to consider. As they prepared to leave, Krixat turned to Tom, the janitor disguise. Was that really necessary? Tom grinned. Admiral, no one pays attention to the person cleaning their room. It's the perfect cover. I have been everything from a chef to a shuttle pilot in my time with the Guardians. You'd be amazed what people discuss when they think service workers are beneath their notice. And now? Will you maintain your cover? For now, Tom said. The human diplomatic team still needs a janitor. And you might need an ally on your ship. Krixat nodded slowly. The council meets in 2 weeks. I will need time to gather supporters before presenting this evidence. We have waited 10,000 years, Admiral, Tom said. 2 more weeks won't matter. 3 days later, Commander Zrel watched in stunned silence as Admiral Krixat announced her decision regarding Earth's petition. Provisional acceptance, she declared to the assembled diplomats. Earth will enter a 5-year observation period, after which full membership will be considered. Ambassador Reyes looked like she might faint from shock. The other human diplomats exchanged bewildered glances. No petitioning world had ever been granted provisional status after even 1 rejection, let alone 6. Admiral Zrel protested. The evaluation criteria have been applied too rigidly, Krixat interrupted. The Confederation was founded on principles of diversity and inclusion. It's time we remembered that. From his position along the wall, mop in hand, Tom Parker allowed himself a small smile. Phase 1 complete. Later, as the humans celebrated their unexpected victory, Zrel confronted the Admiral in her private quarters. This is about the janitor, he accused. What hold does he have over you? Krixat regarded him coolly. Be careful, Commander. Your tone borders on insubordination. You visited Earth with him. Alone. And returned with this unprecedented decision. The Council will have questions. Let them ask. Her scales darkened to a threatening crimson. My decisions are my own, Commander. Remember your place. After Zrel departed, Krixat activated a secure communication channel. Tom's face appeared on the screen. The seeds are planted, she reported. Zrel suspects something, as we predicted. He will alert the inner circle. Good, Tom replied. Let them worry. Let them wonder. The more defensive they become, the more obvious their guilt will be when you present the evidence. And if they move against me before the council meeting? Tom smiled, his eyes ancient in his seemingly young face. Then they will learn why the Guardians have survived for 10,000 years, Admiral. We protect our own. The screen went dark. Krixat stood alone, contemplating the weight of the data crystal in her hand and the future it might forge, a future where the Confederation could become what it had always claimed to be. A union of equals, advancing together toward a better galaxy. Outside her window, Earth gleamed like a blue jewel against the darkness of space. Such a young world, with no idea of the role it was about to play in galactic politics, or of the ancient eyes that had been watching over it all along. In the diplomatic quarters, Tom Parker pushed his mop across the floor, whistling softly. No one paid him any attention. Just a human janitor, after all.